Part 1. A Normal Upbringing. I had what most people would call an ordinary American childhood. I grew up in a quiet suburban town in Illinois, where every house looked like a slight variation of the one next to it. My parents, Mark and Linda Carter, were good people, loving but busy. My dad worked long hours as an accountant, and my mom ran a small business from home, constantly managing orders and phone calls. They did their best, even if that meant they were too exhausted to always be present. Being the youngest in the family wasn't easy. I had 3 older sisters, Rebecca, Sarah, and Lisa, who treated me like an annoying little brother half the time and like their personal project the other half. They were fiercely protective, but they also made it their mission to remind me that I was the baby of the family. Our home wasn't perfect, but it was stable. No major fights, no deep resentments, just the usual ups and downs. Holidays were spent with my extended family, aunts, uncles, and cousins who lived a few hours away. Every Thanksgiving and Christmas, we'd pile into the car for the long drive to my grandparents' house, where we'd eat too much, play board games, and sit around the living room catching up on each other's lives. One of my cousins, Emily, was 7 years younger than me. Back then, she was just another kid in the family, quiet, a little shy, always sticking close to her mom. She followed us older kids around sometimes, but I barely paid attention to her. She was just there, part of the background of my childhood memories. Life was simple back then, normal. I had no way of knowing that one day that normalcy would be shattered. Part 2. The Accusation That Changed Everything, 2014. I was 22 when my life fell apart. It was a Friday night, and I was in my apartment, playing online with some friends. The game was intense, and I barely noticed my phone vibrating on the desk beside me. When I finally glanced at it, I saw 3 missed calls from my mom. I frowned, but ignored them. She was probably just calling to remind me about some family event I had already forgotten about. A few minutes later, my phone rang again. Annoyed, I sighed and took my headset off, grabbing my phone. "Mom, what's up?" The second I heard her voice, my stomach dropped. She was crying. Not the soft kind of crying, but the kind where someone is barely able to speak. "Jake," she gasped between sobs, "do you have something you want to tell me?" I sat up straighter. "What? What's going on?" "Something about Emily," she choked out. "Something from years ago. Is there anything you need to confess?" My mind went blank. Emily? My cousin? I hadn't spoken to her in years. I racked my brain, trying to understand what my mom was saying. "Confess to what?" I asked, my voice rising in confusion. Emily said, "She said you did something to her when she was 9. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My mouth went dry. "What the hell are you talking about?" I demanded. But my mom wasn't listening anymore. She was sobbing harder now, her words barely making sense. "How could you?" she screamed through the phone. "She was just a child, Jake. How could you do that to her?" I was still trying to process what she was saying when I heard my dad's voice in the background. He must have taken the phone from her. His voice was low, sharp, and full of anger. "You're dead to us." And then he hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone in disbelief. Seconds later, a text popped up from Rebecca. "I always knew there was something off about you. You disgust me." Another from Sarah. "Never talk to me again." Then Lisa. "You're a monster." I tried calling my mom back. No answer. I tried my dad. Straight to voicemail. I messaged my sisters. No response. Within minutes, my entire family had cut me off, and I had no idea why. Part 3. The Aftermath. Isolation and Downward Spiral. The first few weeks after the accusation felt like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I kept thinking this had to be some kind of mistake, some horrible misunderstanding that would clear itself up. I sent texts, left voicemails, even emailed my parents and sisters. No one responded. It was like I had ceased to exist. Paranoia took hold quickly. Every knock on my apartment door made my heart race. Every unknown number on my phone sent a wave of panic through me. Was Emily pressing charges? Was I going to get arrested? I barely ate. I barely slept. I spent most nights scrolling through old family photos, trying to understand how people who had loved me my whole life could turn their backs on me in an instant. And then the anger came. At first, it was directed at myself. I questioned everything. Did I do something, anything, that could have been misinterpreted? I was 16 back then. She was 9. I barely even remembered interacting with her outside of family gatherings. How could she say this? But the more I thought about it, the more I started to hate her. She had ruined my life with a single lie. She had turned my own family against me. And for what? Attention? A twisted joke? Some repressed memory that never even happened? I started drinking. At first, just a beer or two at night to take the edge off. But soon, I was drinking every day. Whiskey, tequila, whatever helped me forget. I stopped leaving my apartment, stopped checking my email, stopped talking to the few friends I had left. The paranoia, the anger, the alcohol. It all blurred together into months of self-destruction. I thought about ending it more times than I'd ever admit. But then, in early 2015, something changed. I got a job. It wasn't much, just a starting position at a tech company, but it was enough to pull me out of the pit I had been drowning in. The structure helped, the paycheck helped, and slowly I started piecing my life back together. I saved money. I bought things that made me feel like I was in control again. A VR headset, a motorcycle. By 2017, I even managed to buy a small house. On paper, I had rebuilt my life. But emotionally, I was still broken. I was still on antidepressants. I still had no friends. Dating was impossible. I couldn't exactly explain why I had no family. No matter how much I moved forward, the past refused to let me go. And I had no idea if it ever would. Ban ko mon toi chin sua gi trok, ki viet fan bon kong. Part 4. The Unexpected Message. 2023. 9 years. That's how long it had been since I had last spoken to my family. 9 years of silence. 9 years of being the villain in a story I hadn't even written. By 2023, I had stopped expecting anything from them. I had built a life, maybe not the one I wanted, but one that worked. I had a stable job, a decent house, and a routine that kept me from thinking too much about the past. And then, one evening, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in almost a decade. Mom. I froze, staring at the screen, convinced it was a mistake. Maybe she had meant to text someone else. Maybe it was a scam. But when I opened the message, it was worse than I could have imagined. Hey, sweetheart, hope you're doing well. We were just talking about you at dinner the other night. We all miss you. Like nothing had happened. Like the last 9 years had just been a minor inconvenience. Before I could even process the first message, another one followed. Emily was at the house last weekend. We were talking about everything from back then and, well, she admitted that she might have been wrong. She said she probably imagined it. I read the words over and over, my hands shaking. Might have been wrong. Probably imagined it. The rage that hit me was instant and suffocating. I had lost everything, my family, my peace, my sanity, because of a lie, a maybe. And now they wanted to reconnect? Just like that? My heart pounded as I stared at my phone, torn between throwing it against the wall and responding with every ounce of anger I had buried for 9 years. Instead, I turned off my phone and sat in the dark, fists clenched, breathing heavy. I had spent nearly a decade trying to move on, and now, with one text, they had dragged me right back in. Part 5. Facing Emily's Apology. A week passed. A long, agonizing week where my mind couldn't settle. I barely slept, barely focused at work. My body was here, but my head was trapped in the past, replaying every moment, every betrayal, every second of the life that had been ripped from me. Then, one evening, My phone vibrated. Emily. The name alone sent a shockwave through my chest. My hands clenched into fists as I hesitated before opening the message. Hey, Jake. I just wanted to say I'm really sorry for everything. I was going through a lot when I was younger, and I think my memory was complicated. I didn't mean for things to get so out of control. I've been in therapy, and my parents are helping me work through it. I just hope you're doing okay. I read it once, twice, a third time. My vision blurred with rage. That was it? That was her apology? No ownership, no admission of guilt, just some half-assed excuse wrapped in self-pity. My fingers shook as I typed back. You didn't mean for things to get out of control? Do you have any idea what you did to me? You destroyed my life. I lost everything. My family, my future, my peace of mind. Because of you. And now, 9 years later, all you have to say is that your memory was complicated? I could feel my heartbeat in my skull, the pressure, the fury. I spent years drowning in pain. I thought about ending my life more times than I can count. And you? You just get to move on? You get to go to therapy and call it a mistake? Number? You don't get to walk away from this so easily. I stared at the message, breathing hard, my hands aching from gripping the phone too tightly. Then I added one final line. I will never forgive you. I hit send. Minutes passed, then an hour, then 2. No response. Coward. I locked my phone and sat in the dark, fists clenched, jaw tight. She could run, she could pretend to heal, but nothing could undo what she had done to me. Part 6. Reconnecting with my parents' days passed after I sent that message to Emily. Then a week, then 2. She never responded. And honestly, I didn't expect it to. But the silence didn't bring me peace. If anything, it only left more space for the anger to grow, to fester. I couldn't focus at work. I couldn't sleep without feeling that deep, burning rage clawing at my insides. Then, one evening, my phone rang. Dad. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. The last time I had heard his voice, he had told me I was dead to him. Now, after 9 years, he was calling me like nothing had happened. I let it ring. I wasn't ready. Then, an hour later, my phone buzzed again. Mom this time. I let it go to voicemail. Then a text came through. Jake, please. We need to talk. Please just pick up. Something in me snapped. Fine. They wanted to talk. Let's talk. I called back. The phone barely rang once before my mom answered. The moment I heard her voice, shaky, breathless, desperate, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not relief, not comfort, just pure, simmering resentment. Jake, she gasped. Oh my God. Jake, is it really you? Yeah, it's me. My voice was cold, distant. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of warmth. She burst into tears, full, choking sobs. I could hear my dad in the background, murmuring something I couldn't make out. I clenched my jaw, waiting. Let them cry. Let them feel something. Finally, she calmed enough to speak. We need to tell you how sorry we are. We were wrong, Jake. We were so wrong. Silence. I didn't respond. I wanted to hear them squirm. My dad took the phone. His voice was rough, steadier than hers, but there was something in it I had never heard before. A crack. Jake, we messed up. We should have believed you, but at the time, it felt like we had no choice. Emily's story, he hesitated. It was so detailed. It sounded so real. And we thought, God, we thought we had to protect her. And what about me? My voice came out sharp, unsteady. Did it ever cross your mind to protect me? Silence. We failed you, my dad admitted finally. We should have been there. We should have asked questions. We should have... He exhaled, shaky. We should have been your parents. I closed my eyes. The anger was still there, burning just beneath the surface. But something else was creeping in too. Something I wasn't ready to name. Why now? I asked. Why after all these years? My mum spoke again, her voice small. Because we were scared. We wanted to reach out so many times, but we thought you'd never want to hear from us again. I let out a bitter laugh. Maybe you were right. Another silence. Then, my mom whispered, "We miss you, Jake. We know we don't deserve forgiveness, but please, we want to fix this." I swallowed hard. My hands were shaking. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to scream at them. I wanted to tell them they didn't deserve to have me back. But more than anything, I wanted my family. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I admitted. "We understand," my dad said. "Just let us try." I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. Part 7. The First Visit Home. 2024. It took months before I agreed to see them in person. Even after that phone call, I kept my distance. I wasn't ready to act like everything was okay, because it wasn't. The pain didn't just vanish because they suddenly decided they wanted me back. But curiosity? That lingered. So, on a cold evening in February, I found myself gripping the steering wheel of my car, parked outside the house I once called home. It looked the same. White siding, blue shutters, the same porch light, flickering weakly like it always had. But I felt like a stranger sitting there, staring at the place where I had grown up. I almost turned the car around. Then the front door opened, and my mom stepped out onto the porch. She didn't wave. She just stood there, hands clutched together, as if afraid any movement might scare me off. I took a deep breath, then another. And then I got out of the car. The walk to the door felt impossibly long. My dad appeared in the doorway next, his face unreadable. "Hi, sweetheart," my mom whispered as I stepped onto the porch. Her voice cracked on the last word. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Instead, I walked inside. The weight of the past. The house smelled the same, faintly of vanilla candles and old wood. The furniture hadn't changed, same couch, same dining table, same framed family photos on the wall. Except now, I wasn't in any of them. I followed my parents to the dining room, where a meal was already set out. My mom had cooked my favorite, pot roast with mashed potatoes. The sight of it made something in my chest tighten. They had tried. The three of us sat down. At first, there was only silence. Then, my dad cleared his throat. We're really glad you came." I nodded, but said nothing. My mom took a shaky breath. "Jake, She swallowed hard. "We know that no amount of apologies can undo what we did to you." "No, they can't." My voice was flat. Cold. She flinched, but nodded. "I don't expect you to forgive us. I just want you to know we have spent every day regretting what we did. Every single day." I set my fork down. My heart was pounding, my jaw tight. "Do you have any idea what those years were like for me?" My mom's eyes filled with tears. My dad looked away, shame etched deep into his face. "I lost everything," I continued, my voice trembling with restrained fury. "You abandoned me. You didn't ask questions. You didn't give me a chance. You just threw me away like I was nothing." A tear rolled down my mom's cheek. "I know," she whispered, "and I will hate myself for the rest of my life because of it." I wanted to yell. I wanted to make them feel even a fraction of what I had endured. But when I looked at them, truly looked at them, I saw two people who were already carrying the weight of their guilt. And suddenly, I didn't feel like fighting anymore. I exhaled sharply and leaned back in my chair. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again." My dad nodded slowly. "We understand." My mom wiped her tears and reached across the table, hesitating before saying, "Can we at least try?" I stared at her hand. Then, after a long moment, I gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. One step at a time. Part 8. Moving forward. Trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. Even after that first visit, I kept my distance. I wasn't ready for family dinners, weekend calls, or pretending things were normal. Because they weren't. Nothing about this was normal. But I didn't shut them out completely. Small steps. A text from my mom every now and then. A short call with my dad. An occasional visit where I stayed just long enough to feel the past pressing in, but not long enough for it to suffocate me. I was still angry. I probably always would be. But the rage wasn't the only thing left inside me anymore. Letting go of the hate months passed. Then a year. And slowly, something strange happened. Life started feeling lighter. I had spent nearly a decade carrying the weight of betrayal, of loss, of an identity that wasn't even mine to bear. I had been the outcast, the accused, the abandoned. It had defined me, controlled me. And then, for the first time, it didn't. It started small. I reconnected with an old coworker and, for once, I didn't push them away. I started saying yes to social events, even when my instinct told me to keep my guard up. And then, one evening, I met her. Her name was Claire. She was smart, funny, had this sharp wit that made conversation feel effortless. More than that, she had this way of seeing me. Not the scars, not the past, but me. For the first time in years, I let someone in. And for the first time in years, I wasn't terrified that they would destroy me. Looking ahead, I still don't know if I'll ever forgive Emily. I don't think I need to. Forgiveness isn't about letting the past go. It's about choosing not to let it control you anymore. And as I sat on my porch one evening, watching the sunset bleed across the sky, I realized something. I had spent so many years thinking I was broken beyond repair, that the past had stolen everything from me. But it hadn't. I was still here, still standing. And for the first time in a long, long time, I was free. Shocking Family Story Channel. Thanks you for watching. Support me, like, share and subscribe too. Watch more stories. See you in the next video.